So to backtrack here, we have an individual, a young man, that just a few days ago was found hanging from a tree on a university campus. The young man was 21 years old and he was black. And initial reports, I mean, almost immediately, we were told no foul play was suspected. This was a suicide. And I can't speak to every race and every community, but I know in the black community, instantly, everybody's ears perked up. And it's no big secret. Everybody recognizes that this country has a long, horrible, horrific history when it comes to the black community and lynchings. And so when we hear, and this isn't the first time we've heard something like this, but whenever we hear an individual from our community is found hanging from a tree, our first, second, third, maybe even 25th thought is never, that's a suicide. So additional facts before we get into thoughts. The family has come out and essentially said that what they were told by the Delta State campus police were that they found their son or brother or family member, Demartravion, in his bed, unconscious. It wasn't until media got a hold and started reporting on the case that the family discovered what his actual circumstances were. We then got word that the family has sought legal help, legal representation from civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who we all know is an individual who has been involved in a number of high-profile cases impacting the black community. You name any of the large ones, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, Tyre Nichols, him and his office were right there at the head leading the charge and trying to obtain answers and hold people accountable. So he's now been retained by this family. And one of the things that we also know is there was a report flying around social media that this young man wasn't only found hanging from a tree, but that he had a broken arm and I believe fractured legs. And then right after that report came out that he might have suffered, these broken bones, there were fact checkers coming out and saying that this was false due to a report that was given by the coroner's office. And I have it here on Snopes where the Bolivar County Coroner's Office released a report that said, in part, we can confirm that the deceased did not suffer any lacerations, contusions, compound fractures, broken bones, or injuries consistent with an assault. At this time, there is no evidence to suggest the individual was physically attacked before his death. We also got a little bit of a timeline from Snopes. They report here that approximately 7:05 a.m., the university police was notified of what appeared to be the body of a black male hanging from a tree, central campus near the DSU pickleball courts. We later identified the male subject to be 21-year-old Reed of Grenada, Mississippi. Mr. Reed's next of kin has been notified. At this time, there is no evidence of foul play. While there is no evidence of foul play, that seems to be redacted or removed. The body has been retrieved by Bolivar County Coroner's Office. Now, on top of all of that circumstance, there was also a video that apparently is circulating through the web that obviously I have not seen. I don't plan to watch. I don't plan to find, but it is circulating that is showing the young man hanging from the tree. Furthermore, there was another TikToker or somebody who went on social media who was claiming to be this young man's cousin, and he's very emotional, and he talks about how the area, the campus, has a long history of racism. He shares that he himself has had several racial incidents occur when interacting with this university and this police. He said, now, I just got off the phone with one of my cousins. She said she's seen the reports, and it said that he was beaten and bruised. Both his arms were broken, and he had a broken leg. I'm going to let y'all do the math. I'm assuming this came first, and then that's why we started getting reports of him not only being found hung, but having severe, damage done to his body. And the last thing I want to add is whether or not federal law enforcement is going to get involved in figuring out if this was a suicide or not. And this is from the Clarion Ledger that says FBI prepared to investigate death of Delta State student found hanged in Mississippi. Shortly after national organizations and state officials demanded deeper investigations into the death of Demartravion Trey Reed at Delta State University, the Jackson FBI said the agency is prepared to investigate the matter if a federal violation is found. Jackson FBI Public Affairs Officer Marsha Lawson told the Clarion Ledger via email Wednesday, September 17th, which is the day that I'm recording this, that the agency is aware of the incident in Cleveland and are in regular contact with local authorities. On top of that, we also have a U.S. representative from Mississippi, Democratic Representative Benny Thompson, who called for the federal investigation into the heartbreaking tragedy. He released a statement saying, "I'm calling for a full federal investigation into his death. The FBI has the tools and experience necessary to conduct a thorough and unbiased inquiry, and time is of the essence. We must leave no stone unturned. Mississippi's history of racial violence against African Americans cannot be ignored, and our community deserves both truth and accountability." I think this final statement that I'm going to read from the NAACP highlights what my next talking points are going to be. The NAACP, oldest civil rights organization in the United States, issued a statement stating, "While we await more formal autopsy reports and information, we offer this piece of history with a level of certainty. Our people have not historically hung ourselves from trees." I've given you all the information that we have right now concerning this case. More information, again, than any major news network has even come close to reporting. I don't even know if we've had a ticker on any of the major players saying that this young man has died this way. What is being circulated the most right now, the face that's being plastered everywhere as a symbol of peace and free speech, and how that's riling up a certain group of people who are now on every social media platform spreading messages of hate and violence and things that they intend to do to others. So you have this background of supercharged tension that should have been diffused when individuals found out who the murderer was, but it wasn't. In that, we then find this young man, this young black man, at a campus that was historically white, that at one point, I think it had its own sit-in. It had a sit-in in the 1960s where black students had to take a stand and argue for better treatment and fair rights on this campus. And instead of being listened to, they were arrested, sent to a penitentiary. And mind you, these are students. They were sent to a penitentiary where that was known for breaking the spirits of freedom fighters. They were sent to a place where all they did again was sit in front of the dean's office. This is what they were arrested for. Had to spend a night at the penitentiary, but not just in the penitentiary. They had to spend a night on death row. So this is a school that's dealt with it's a long history of racism, and now we have a student, a young black man, found hanging from a tree on the campus. Nobody is saying that they know the answer right now. It could be, again, that this young man chose to unfortunately transition. And we would have to respect that. But it would be far more foolish to expect a group of people to accept at face value that everything is on the up and up with how this individual was found. I don't know where this is going to shake out. The optimist in me doesn't even have a good answer as to what's the best case scenario. You know, on one hand, you have a young man that seemed to have a bright future. He's going to school. He's got a dream. We hear from his uncle that he wants to be a truck driver. He seems to be on the right path to achieving things that he would want out of life. And if what we're being told is to be true, he snuffed his own flame out. And I hate to see that, because there's so much more life ahead of him. There's so much more for him to experience, especially outside of the small town community that he's from. On the other hand, if we're being lied to, then there is a very scary situation unfolding. And I'm sure not just that area, but across this country, as individuals feel like that it's time for them to take matters into their own hands. That's it. Again, I am sorry that this was a sad one, y'all. This is why I wanted to preface everything with saying that take some time, touch grass, as my brother would say. There's a lot of beauty and good that's happening right outside your door. And so I want to end on a positive note of hope and prayers for the family, but that Trey himself, wherever he may be, is stripped of the pain and the suffering, and ultimately has found peace.